road and if they can keep up with TL.
Exactly. I mean, I think that Team Liquid right now, a lot of people are tired of the scrim talk, but the reality is you talk to pretty much every pro and they're telling you that TL is dominating in scrims, that they're incredibly strong. Pros are viewing Team Liquid as the strongest team, or at the very least, one of the couple teams. So Shopify, if they can even be competitive with TL, if they can have a good series here, go 3 games, you know, look pretty close, even that I think will convince people that, hey, at the very least, Shopify should be competitive in the midfield, right? That they should be kind of climbing up people's power rankings, that they should be looked at as a solid playoff team. And that is what they are looking for, that week-over-week progression. Team Liquid, though, of course, looking for some of that themselves. They were pretty disappointed with their results from lock-in. And even week 1, you know, still lots they can clean up on from that series against FlyQuest.
I did, however, really like the fact that we got to see like an aggressive Team Liquid, specifically in the Game 3 against FlyQuest, slamming the Lee Sin pocket pick there for Josedeodo, picking a composition that you know is going to get outscaled and being able to execute in a way where that doesn't end up costing you. I think that that's the type of look you really want to see from this squad going forward. But hey, we're already into Champ Select. It's first pick for Shopify Rebellion. Team Liquid selecting to play from the blue side. We've got Ori, Varus, and Karma banned away, while Shopify are going to ban out the Renekton, the Rumble, and the Nautilus, as we do see the Pantheon first pick for Shopify Rebellion, but the instant response from Team Liquid is the AShe Seraphine, the terror bottom lane duo that is just so difficult for so many laners to deal with.
And mostly you're going to get Corki Nami as a response, so I'm curious to see if that is going to be what we get from Shopify, or if they're going to kind of, you know, try to go for something a little bit different. Sometimes you can go for an aggressive option and try to really punish them, but it is the expected answer. Generally speaking, Pantheon is pretty good into the AShe Seraphine, because generally when you're looking at this duo, you're looking at them as very powerful in the 2v2, but low mobility and very gankable, right? So Pantheon is one of those junglers that people like to draft against it because you can get down there and punish. So it is interesting that TL had the confidence to just slam it down anyway. So now I'm curious, are they going to match roles here? Are we going to get a good early game jungler from Jose so he can try to match in the 3v3, which is generally what you want to do if you're going to play a pushing bot lane, and Zhao is going to really fit the bill there. So now it becomes, you know, can Jose be in the right place at the right time? Obviously, it's a lot easier for Contractz to get down there with a ground starfall on demand and try to punish a pushing lane. But if TL have that pushing bot lane, Jose can be invading, you can get deep wards, you can track where the Pantheon is, and all of a sudden, that ultimate becomes much more difficult to use.
And talking about Pantheon being effective into AShe Seraphine, I also like the choice from TL to, as soon as you see the Pantheon, immediately grab this duo for yourself. Because whenever I see champions that have global or semi-global ultimates, pairing them with one or potentially even 2 other champions that also have the same capability just creates such a massive amount of threat. So denying the ability to use the arrow and the Grand Starfall that you're talking about together in tandem, I think is pretty important.
It absolutely is. And, you know, I talked about getting deep vision. Obviously, Hawkshot is also going to help you do that, to be able to track the Pantheon, know where he is. So between deep wards, between the Hawkshot, you are hoping that they're going to have a good idea of where this Pantheon is at all times. And we will have to see how these 2 bot lanes go. Obviously, the Lounge was talking about, you know, Bvoy having this crazy Caitlyn game where the game got blown apart. He set the record for the gold difference at 8. Since it has been tracked in the LCS, was up thousands of gold ahead. And even though Yeon and Core are looked at as one of the best bot lanes in the league, they got kind of blasted by FlyQuest bot lane last week. Masu and Cryogen were giving them hands, man. They were getting 2v2 kills many times in a row. The Corki game that FlyQuest actually won, that TL lost, was, you know, almost a 1v9 game from Masu. You know, they dominated them in the bot lane. So we're going to have to see if Yeon and Core can look a little bit better in that 2v2, because, you know, this plan of tracking the jungler and being able to 3v3 and all that is great, but you have to not lose the 2v2 for that to actually be viable.
Yeah, exactly. That pop-off game you're talking about with Masu piloting the Corki, the initial 2 deaths came from the fact that it was supposed to be Team Liquid setting up a play for Jose to come down there, and then Yeon and Core just both drop. They overplay their hand. They get too aggressive in the setup, trying to bait their opponents in. Sometimes you're the bait, sometimes you're the shark, and they were, they ended up in the chum bucket after that one.
Absolutely did. As we are going to get Aurora coming through here as a blind from TL, and the answers are going to be Mel and Ambessa. So now we're going to find out, you know, is this going to be Aurora mid for QUID, or is it going to be Aurora top for Morgan? You know, you do have the option to go either way. I think against the Mel, it could be pretty tough for the Aurora because you are going to be outranged. You are expecting it to probably go top lane now, given the matchups. But you do have the option to go either way, and obviously can still play at mid here for QUID, and it is going to be a Jax for Morgan, so it will be Aurora mid. And it'll be interesting to see how QUID does here against Zinie, who had a really good week 1 of spring after a pretty tough lock-in tournament.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I'm surprised that we're going to see the Aurora opt into the matchup against Mel, one of those longer range control mage types. Yeah. I feel like every time I see Aurora, her natural environment is she wants to bully short range enemy champions. She has such a powerful burst pattern. It's super easy for her to just go ahead, get that damage down, and immediately back away. Mel's going to make that pretty tough.
Yeah, it is going to be really difficult. Generally these types of champions can really struggle against poke mages. The question is, can you maintain the push? If you can maintain the push and keep Zinie in under his tower, then it's going to be a lot less powerful. If you lose the push to Mel, then all of a sudden you're trying to last hit under your tower where, Mel is just raining down spells on you one after the other.
Yep.
And you don't really have a great trade pattern to trade back. So getting the push, I think, is going to be incredibly important. It'll be interesting to see how that goes in this matchup. It's not one I've seen a ton, but Mel is getting a lot more popular in lock-in during Split 1 in LPL. Mel was really, really popular in LPL. We saw it at First Stand quite a bit, has become quite a popular answer to Ahri, but we are seeing people just get more comfortable with it in general, and the more they play it, the more they realize, hey, this is actually really, really powerful, especially when you're playing against some specific champions, and it is playing against the Nami, and you can reflect the Nami wave, and that is one of the best ultimates in the game to reflect. You can also reflect the Ashe arrow. Those are two that are pretty easy. Excuse me, the Seraphine ult, you're going to be able to reflect those. Of course, the Nami's on his side, but the Ashe ult, the Seraphine ult, being able to reflect those is actually so incredibly powerful. So, maybe partially why Zinie elected to go for it.
Well, I'm excited to see how this one is going to play out. I'm very excited to see specifically where our junglers are going to focus. I feel like when we saw the first 3 picks for either side in the draft, we were talking so much about that bottom lane, about how jungle intervention here could be super important against the power and priority that the Ashe plus Seraphine combo is normally going to command. But now that we've seen this potential, like Aurora into Mel, hey, this could be very volatile as well, it just means that there's that much more opportunity cost to every decision that the junglers make.
It absolutely is. You have to really decide where you're going to go. Top lane can be very volatile in these types of matchups. Also, when you're looking at, Ambessa, Jax, if one gets really far ahead of the other, it can be very, very difficult. These are the current LCS standings. The only undefeated team, the Kings of the Castle.
On
top of the table, 2-0. It's the first time that Shopify Rebellion has been in sole possession of first place in their organization's history. Not bad, Shopify.
Not bad, but they got to keep it going. It's not just a one-week league. We got to see how you can stack up against the rest of them. Yeon and CoreJJ. Now with control over this bottom lane, pretty much what you would expect here early on. Morgan versus Fudge in the top side's not going to be super exciting here early. As you can see, jungler pathing right now. Everybody finishing up their first quadrants as Contractz will path towards the bottom side of the map. But you can see Josedeodo going to go ahead, invade here early on.
Yeah, they love to do this. When they get the pushing bot, they love to go for these invades, and we're going to see Yeon and Core come over and help if they need to. Zeus and Bvoy are going to be losing this first plate on the tower pretty early on, and they are getting bullied quite hard. I didn't expect it to be, this one-sided early on, but if you're not able to get some of these nice trades out from the Nami and kind of utilize the sustain as your advantage, if the Ashe and Seraphine can kind of keep their distance, it does get a lot more difficult. And Jose has no smite, so this is going to be a tough one to actually challenge for because his bot lane is not moving. But Contractz, I don't think, knows that he doesn't have smite.
Yeah, Contractz also no flash on the Pantheon, so we'll have to be a little concerned if he wants to overcommit to any fights here. Josedeodo gets stunned up here, trying to make his way back outside, steps outside of the Aqua Prison. Jose getting away now, reinforcement of shields from CoreJJ. Team Liquid firing back as QUID rotates down into the fight. Burst into Contractz is a lot in their first blood over to Team Liquid as it is traded 1-for-1, but Zinie's about to fall now too, and TL wants even more. Zeus has to try to flash back into his own jungle to stay alive, but no, it's TL 3-for-1.
Well, Shopify 2-0. Good start to the split, kept that win streak going for 2 games. And time of death in this one looking pretty early on. At Shopify, it felt like they really tried to force this. They have the move from Zeus first, but QUID is just hitting the back of Zinie this whole time while they're trying to chase into Jose. Bvoy can't join the fight at all because he's completely zoned out by the bot lane, and Shopify just did not have the proper setup for this whatsoever. Zinie's not even going to bother flashing because he knows QUID can just go across the veil, hop up the wall, follow him, no problem, get that kill regardless. And you know, we didn't even talk about it, but Morgan forced the flash of Fudge as well.
Yeah.
So it is a bit of a disaster. 4 minutes in here, 1.8K the gold lead for TL. They are insanely ahead just like that. And yeah, you don't want the kills to go to CoreJJ. It's unfortunate that he got 2 of them. But the reality is it's still going to be good. Oh, okay, never mind. He did not force the flash. I just saw that being burned, and I assumed it was during a 1v1.
Normally, I feel like that's a safe assumption, but hey, even pros make blunders sometimes. Unfortunately, a blunder means that much more in a game that is quickly spiraling out of control on the other side of the map. But I feel like we've already answered one of the questions that you posed back in the lobby, back in the draft, talking about Yeon and CoreJJ fumbling in the 2v2 against FlyQuest last weekend, needing to show up, step up, be more solid in the bottom lane this week. I think this is a pretty solid start.
It is looking very good here. You know, they had the push. I feel like this was more about Shopify forcing something that they didn't have the setup to, but they are able to, you know, punish that pretty heavily. QUID gets a kill, Core gets 2. He's going to be early stacking that tier. You know, had a lot of gold, and enchanters scale really, really well with gold. You know, I'm honestly a lot happier to see an enchanter get that gold than I am to see my Braum or whatever
like
be
a
able
Leona.
to pick that up, Leona, etc. Because those are kind of just like one-item champions that kind of get stuck there. Whereas these days with the support quest, you can easily get to 2 items, sometimes even 3 items on these enchanters, and they scale ridiculously well. And now Contractz doesn't really have a lot of options besides trying to force.
Oh, QUID going in for the solo kill onto Zinie. Doesn't quite have the damage that he needs. Looking for potentially the range here to fire off a 2-fold Hex, but he won't get it. So Zinie stays alive. Meanwhile, back in the bottom lane, junglers still deciding to turn this into an honest 3v3 as Jose and Contractz just going to spend a lot of time covering for their respective bot lanes.
So it was honest when they are even on gold. Is it still honest, you know?
It's
like, is it an honest
a
boxing fight
for
if it's me versus Mike Tyson? You know, is that an honest?
Well, I mean, if you're meeting him there in the ring, it's going to be an honest 5 seconds or so. Not trying to hate here. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, that was my question. You know, me versus LeBron, honest 1v1.
Well, you know
one is stronger than the other.
You know what I honestly think
It's hard
this
to say
might be?
who, but
I think this is Kangus's fault. Because Kangus is always wrong when it comes to Shopify. So now that he jumped back on the Shopify boat at the end of the show opening today, now the opening has gone terribly for them.
Why does he hate Shopify?
Why does Kangus do this?
That's crazy.
To Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah, why would he do this to Shopify Rebellion? Why did he run on stage and press Fudge's flash like that?
What a diabolical thing to do.
That is crazy. Yeah, in Split 1 in lock-in, he predicts them first. They win exactly 0 games. In Split 2, he predicts them last. They start off undefeated in week 1.
Clean sweep week 1. Yep.
Then goes on the lounge and starts talking about how they're going to win the split. And what do we have?
We have a 2,000 gold deficit.
We have
5
a
minutes
nice
into the game.
fair fight between LeBron James and Azael. Nice fair fight, you know?
We're going to sell out stadiums with that card, man. That's
I think people would pay to see LeBron beat up a random video game caster.
Hey, a literal world champion, excuse you, as Morgan is going to keep the pressure on here in the top lane. Flash for Flash, so Fudge's earlier blunder on the execution of that doesn't actually end up punishing him, but by the time he does have the summoner spell ready again this time, he has to spend it just to stay alive. So Team Liquid maintains their control all over the map. The scoreboard says it better than I could. There's no individual advantage anywhere for Shopify, as Team Liquid are now going to also start prioritizing some neutral objectives. They'll go after Drake #1. Not a particularly fast Drake early here, just about 8 minutes on the clock, but early Ocean Drake always feels so nice.
Yeah, it's really powerful. And their comp, I think, scales quite well, so they are not under any pressure yet whatsoever. Contractz does have 6, so he can look to try to find a Grand Starfall, see if he can get a kill on this Pantheon. It does feel like when you are behind, that first use of the ultimate becomes so important. The Hawkshot is going to get sent out towards the top side. They're trying to see, you know, are they over on the grubs? Are they taking those just yet? And they're going to get the info that they are not. But I really kind of have my eyes on Contractz now, because when all your lanes are losing, like it or not, the pressure really does become on the jungler to try to turn something around, to try to, you know, get a kill and see if he can make something happen.
And that timer only becomes more and more suffocating as nothing happens, because a neutral game state from here is going to favor TL because they already have the advantage. The attempted arrow in the mid lane, not really going to come super close there to Zinie, so swing and a miss on that one. At least with that cooldown unavailable now, Shopify can feel a little bit more safe trying to make something happen. And you can see Contractz still up here in this top side river is going to look towards Morgan, who jumps away to the safety of the ward. He'll be just fine.
Yep, going to be A-OK there. I kind of wonder if there was a bit of miscommunication. I mean, the arrow missed by so much, it makes me think that, because it was so far behind Zinie, I kind of wonder if Yeon wanted QUID to all in and try to like push him back into it, or if there was something going on there. Because otherwise it's a little bit odd to see it missed by that much. So I kind of wonder what the comms were in that moment. You know, maybe QUID's like, oh, I could go for an all in, so Yeon shoots at the arrow and then didn't decide to go for it.
Well, Morgan's already going to commit the counter-strike up here as the ulti follows right after. Fudge forced all the way back underneath the tier 1 turret. Josedeodo also shadowing Morgan. Meanwhile, down in the bottom lane, the 2v2 action continues. Two Void Grubs have already gone over to the side of Shopify in the top half of the map as Yeon and Core are thinking about keeping this fight going a little bit longer. That last little volley will turn things back in their favor overall for the trade.
Yeah, and they get the cleanse out, so it's a trade of the Encore for the cleanse, and when the arrow comes back up, that could be really problematic now because it's going to have to be a flash used at that point.
Yep.
If you eat that, especially if Encore is back up and available. Crystal Arrow into the Encore, into the beat drop for the root, or even the stun if you're slowed up and you have double power charge on it, is very, very dangerous. So going to be some good pressure here for Yeon and CoreJJ.
All right, and a reminder, LCS Spring Finals taking place in Mullet Arena at Arizona State University, June 13th and 14th. Tickets are going to be available beginning next week, so keep your eyes out for those. I love road shows. They're one of my favorite parts about the whole thing, so I'm excited.
Me too, and that's where I'm going to box LeBron, so make sure to get your tickets
that's
early.
Where the showdown. Yeah, that's yeah, we've got the finals and everything.
It's the opening card.
But we have the opening match of Azael versus LeBron. Right there, too. So don't miss out on that one. It's going to be a fun time. So update, we're 11 minutes into the game now, and the gold lead hasn't grown at all for Team Liquid. Like, you're still happy to have a 1,500 gold lead 11 minutes into the game, but at least for Shopify, it's not like one of those types of games where something goes really bad in the first couple of minutes, and then it just snowballs completely out of control. The game is entirely over. But up here on the top side, there's your Grand Starfall. Contractz ready to commit to this one. Morgan tries to get all the way back underneath the turret, and he will succeed. Not enough damage there from Shopify to get this done.
Yeah, I'm not sure it would have made the difference, but you can see there was a bit of miscommunication. Fudge was backing off as Contractz ulted and flashed in, so, wasn't looking for it. Jose is back here behind Theos.
Oh, and that was not a good Aqua Prison from the Nami. Now CoreJJ is going to step up, go on a killing spree here with a Seraphine. Flash followed by Jose's flash as Bvoy cannot escape. Now Jose finds himself fighting behind the enemy lines, and he's going to fight all the way to the bitter end. 1v1 against Contractz' Pantheon here. Another wind becomes lightning comes through. CoreJJ was trying to get over there, maybe be able to save his jungler. Can't quite happen, but Team Liquid's still going to be happy with the 2-for-1.
Yep, going to be very happy with that. I talked about with the cleanse down, whoever that arrow is fired at, you got to flash it. They did not, and the Nami does get taken out. Zinie starting to do quite well in this 1v1, which is kind of more what I expected in the isolated 1v1. The problem for him is, I mean, look at the rest of the map, right? The problem is kind of everything else.
Yeah, the problem is everything that you're not doing.
Yep. As this was just nicely done from Jose. They saw Contractz on the top side, so there's no ability to actually counter gank this. The knock-up was really well timed there from Jose, straight into the Crystal Arrow. Had to flash early or flash that arrow, wasn't able to do so. QUID not even needed on the roam. Jose chases him down, gets the kill. At the end of the day, it is going to be the one traded back here as Contractz arrives, but it's a nice play there from TL, and both the bot laners up about 1K. And Jose just continuing right where he left off last week, was really good last week. Is one of the players that I would say received some of the most criticism from TL in lock-in. He was a new player coming in, and some players...
Whoa, CoreJJ forced to flash out of that one. Does not want to eat any more damage from that tidal wave.
A lot of people were saying, oh, we're going to get QUID, and then once we get QUID, we're going to get inspired, and people were kind of really excited for that potential of this TL super team. And so I think, maybe fairly, maybe unfairly, Jose was kind of compared to that potential pickup of inspired. So people were a little disappointed, I think. As a result, he got some more criticism when things weren't going as well. But Jose was great week one, great here.
Now Fudge not going to find anything there with the public execution as Morgan continues chasing after him. Eclipse shield Nope, that's not enough. Morgan picks up the solo bolo here in the top lane. We've seen a couple of times. It came close. Flash is being spent back and forth, but this time they get the job done as Zinie escapes the pressure from Josedeodo. Back in the mid lane here at the same time. Has Contractz waiting in the wings in case Team Liquid tries to force something more. But Azael, just 3 minutes ago, I said, well, hey, at least Shopify has stopped the bleeding. At least it hasn't gotten worse than it did after the initial scuffle in the bottom lane. Now that gold lead's twice as big as it was.
Yeah, and they're getting the second dragon as well. A solo kill on the top side. You got the first tower up there now, too. And Morgan solo killed Fudge when Fudge was on Eclipse, and Morgan didn't have his first completed item yet. And that is a bit of a disaster because, you know, in this matchup, when you are playing Ambessa, you're rushing towards that Eclipse. You're going to get there before the Jax gets Triforce, especially when Jax pit stops for the steel caps, as Morgan did. Yeah. So that is kind of like your point of power, where you're supposed to be winning the matchup. Fudge, unfortunately, it was close, but his ultimate did miss, and that kind of made the difference there. And Morgan's able to get the solo, now comes back with the completed item, so he is going to be way stronger in this matchup, and he's on a champion that does outscale in the 1v1, so bad kind of goes to worse, and no one's answering Jack's bot lane either, so he's going to be able to pick up probably a lot of gold off this tower too.
Yeah, Trinity Force is just one of the best one-item power spikes in League of Legends with how much it enables you to do the trades, the all-ins, everything, alongside the steel caps that you're mentioning. And there goes the Tier 1 turret down here in the bottom lane. Morgan is up 1,500 gold individually.
Yeah, I mean, that just seemed weird because they didn't even start the Herald. I was like, okay, well, if you're not going to answer, you're going to go for a play on top side, and maybe now they will.
Okay. However, Team Liquid's ready to respond immediately. QUID's going to go ahead, drop the ulti. Josedeodo has already arrived, and Contractz is going to be your target as QUID makes sure Zinie can no longer participate here in the fight. Public execution coming out from Fudge, trying to lock up QUID, but it will not matter. Now Seos in danger yet again. The Nami is a fish out of water, and Team Liquid reel it in. 2-0 up here as everybody from both sides gets involved.
Yeah, felt like everything's falling apart now.
And it might fall even further. Isaac Bvoy tries to escape over the wall. He wants to try to get to the blast cone, but he cannot survive. The focus fire takes him out. And now, oh my, there's no way. We're still going. Morgan drops the ulti. There's another kill. This one's all done up, sewed up. Send it home. Shopify Rebellion collapse in the top half of the map.
Yeah, I mean, this just feels like desperation because they first send everyone topside. It looks like they're going to go for Herald, but then they don't start Herald. No one answers Morgan on the bot side, so Morgan gets your full tower bot for free. Then you try to go for this play onto QUID, but Jose is around. Morgan has DP. He's way stronger. The TL bot lane is here. So it just felt like they realized they messed up their macro. No one answered bot. They didn't force anything top. Then they tried to do it really late, but they've kind of lost all their tempo. And the play really does not work out. They have lost all of their outer towers now at this point. And TL over 6,000 gold ahead. This Jax is going to be on 2 items here pretty soon. And Morgan is going to be nearly unstoppable, it feels like.
And here goes Jose yet again, just jumps in with QUID alongside him, instantly finds the kill onto Seos. This Nami set behind early with the misplays in bot lane and has just been targeted again and again and again. Team Liquid up to a 6,500 gold lead now. The only person that has died on the team at all is Jose, because he's the one who has to go in. He's the one who has to start all these fights. But if the only thing that you've had go south in the whole game is your Zhao that's making all the plays happen had to die 2 times, I think you're more than happy with that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not even like he died in really even fights. He died bot lane after chasing past the tier 2 tower to get a double kill, right? Like, that was one of his deaths. So
that's a thumbs up emoji. Exactly. You die, you flash the emote on that one. Yep. Team Liquid are moving into the enemy jungle now yet again, trying to steal away the red buff. Point blank arrow coming out from Yeon. Pressure onto Contractz, as the rest of Team Liquid is going to go ahead, secure the red buff, and walk away. Jose's not even done with just the red buff. He wants the Krugs too. Anything on Shopify's half of the map is about to be repossessed for Team Liquid purposes.
Yeah, I don't think there is a Shopify half of the map anymore, unfortunately.
Okay. That's fair.
T-Law has taken it. They've drawn a new line in the sand, and that line is Pretty much at the base gate, I would say.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous to go past that if you're on Shopify right now. The Herald is summoned up here in the top side, right in front of the tier 2. Point blank, slam that one in. Morgan does the last little bit of the damage to secure the objective, and they are not done. Jose and Morgan continuing to push forward here in a 2v3, but the backup is ready to arrive. Encore from all the way downtown. Morgan goes on a rampage. Yeon's on a killing spree, and Bvoy and Seos are scattered to the winds. The Herald just runs them over. Shopify Rebellion is turned into Void roadkill. They slam it into the bottom lane tier 2 at the same time. Everything's going Team Liquid's way.
Call it Joseo Drift. He's going through the base. He's using the Herald twice in the same play. Gets a double knockup for a double kill on the enemy bot lane. Crashes it into the bottom tier 2. Jose is going crazy in this game, and that fan take from earlier, Jose calling it for him to get MVP. Hey, maybe it's not so crazy if he's going to be playing like this every game.
Yeah, maybe that guy was onto something, because as soon as Team Liquid took out that tier 2, there was no going back.
Yeah, I mean, they just full send it. Morgan and Jose going in. They use the Herald to crack the first tower. Then he realizes, you know what? Bvoy and Seos are very low. There's no flash. There's no Valk. Knocks them both up. Drives all the way through the base. Crashes it on that tier 2 as his team cleans up the double there. QUID getting that. And this is just a slaughter. 15-2. Here comes the Grand Starfall.
Okay, but what does it lead to? Nothing. Yeon immediately just fires right on back as Jose and QUID are zoning everybody else away. Contractz has merely delivered himself into the waiting arms of the bottom lane yet again, while Morgan is going to pick up another one underneath the tier 2 turret. Seos' Nami is... he's dead more than he's alive in this one. It's a rough game.
Yeah, it's looking tough out there for sure. Yeon, I mean, he got his flash, but that's not going to do much for you as you're going to have to watch this Baron go down, no problem. And this one is over. Everybody knows it, and it's just a matter of how quickly TL will be able to close it out. They have more than enough power to do this just with this Baron. Yeah. It feels funny because it's like, okay, yeah, it's pretty good timing on this, and then you realize that's basically Baron taking on spawn, right?
Yeah, it's 20 minutes and 30 seconds into the game, Blake.
It's just the game has gotten so accelerated that TL is able to do everything all at once. They're going to be able to grab this third dragon, no problem, and work their way towards Cloud Soul as well.
It was a 1,500 gold lead at 11 minutes. 10 minutes later, they have added 10,000 gold to that. It has been 1,000 gold a minute being built for the last 10 minutes of gameplay, which is pretty crazy stuff. And Team Liquid is now about to secure Soul Point here for themselves. And I feel like what you were just saying about, yeah, everybody knows this one's over. It's just about how long does it take. That's then the next test. You should be able to end it on this Baron push. I actually think that if you can't end on this Baron push, that's a little bit of an indictment of your cohesion, your shot calling, your ability to just like really push your advantage.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I will say I think Zinie, you know, overall has done pretty well in the 1v1. The game is just kind of falling apart around him. You look every lane but mid lane, it's a 3K plus advantage.
Yeah.
And Zinie had a rough debut. You know, did have a tough debut, but it's kind of a similar trajectory to what QUID has had in his career.
Well, we'll see if they can bounce back, try to get that trajectory looking a little nicer here in game number 2, because game number 1 is about to seriously struggle as Shopify Rebellion are stuck inside the base. What you were saying earlier, my friend, you are no longer allowed outside of the base walls if you are wearing a green jersey in this one.
But hey, the second split for QUID, he won MVP, right?
Yeah.
And this is the second split for Zinie. He already looked really good week 1. And need I remind you, they are still, for a couple more minutes, undefeated and at the top of the LCS.
Yeah, they're undefeated with a 12,000 gold deficit. Contractz jump into the back line, but Yeon has already gone on a rampage, and Bvoy's out of the picture. Nothing Shopify can do about this one. Send the whole kitchen sink at them, but it will not matter. Team Liquid is way too strong. They're way too far ahead. And now with only Zinie's Mel still standing, TL is ready to push it straight into the Nexus turrets. They just have to wait on that next minion wave to march up the bottom lane. And yeah, I don't think Mel can reflect enough of this. Yeah, you can, if you can somehow reflect every single thing they do, including auto attacks, then you can hang on, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Team Liquid trying to get enough damage here to finish off the Nexus turrets. Don't quite have it here just yet, and Shopify is actually going to get their respawn timers off. I am very surprised this game is still going. Team Liquid's going to back away for now. I'm not sure if they're going to fully commit to the reset. Zinie survives, but he has to flash to do so.
They saw the Penta angle too.
Is that what
back
happened?
it off. Yeah.
They saw the
They saw it. Zinie saw it. I saw it.
They saw Mel standing there with a Ludens and a needlessly large rod, and we're like, hold on, guys.
That is a penta-angle for Mel. Mel loads into the game. Penta-angle.
Okay.
I've got him right where I want him.
All right, they were playing with respect towards Mel. Okay.
It's Mel from Arcane, buddy.
Yeah. Hey. Fair enough. Fair enough. Aurora was not in Arcane. I concede that point.
Yeah. There's no Arcane champions on the other side.
Yeah, there's not.
Yeah, inferior draft.
Seraphine's at least from Piltover. That's kind of similar. She was probably in the background at some point
singing somewhere
during the show. Yeah, she
Yeah.
put on a concert or something. I don't know. But Team Liquid, all right. They didn't end when we thought they would. They were respecting the Mel. Now Zinie might just die before anything else can even happen in the fight, but he stays alive as Josedeodo puts the pressure onto Contractz on the left side of the fight. QUID has to flash away from the turret aggro, but the tier 3 turret is going to die anyway. Contractz falls as Morgan uses the stasis to make sure that one doesn't get traded back. And TL's just going to keep the pressure going. Morgan jumping in here with a counter-strike, forcing out defensive ultimates, forcing Shopify all the way back towards their Nexus. Fudge's public execution isn't going to do anything here. Zinie at least gets a little bit of a rebuttal, but that's not going to matter. Fudge is getting juggled around, tries to escape, but no, QUID goes on a rampage, and Morgan stays alive. They're farming Shopify on the fountain steps. A double kill back over to QUID. Team Liquid dominated this game from start to finish, 25 kills in 24 minutes. They wiped the floor with Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah, that is an absolute stomp. Spam chat now. Who is your player of the game? Mine's Yeon. What do you think, Lounge?
Actually, I have no idea because you said Yeon. I was thinking Morgan. I heard another one say Josedeodo. I feel like we're all over the place because all of Team Liquid just stomped Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah, that was not close.